so we've had several observations of the GLS activity, and at the end of the last one, I made a little comment there and asked if you would like to sit down and discuss how we can change the GLS to up the rigor or to provide more opportunities for different levels of kids, and you were on it real quick. So what we're doing here today is kind of, you know, talking about where you feel you are with the GLS and where we might want to go later. Does that sound kind of fair?
Yes.
Okay, so, but let's go back first and let's talk about the GLS. This is our third year of implementation, and I think at the very beginning of this whole process, 3 years ago, there was this question of, well, how will this apply to functional skills and what we can do with that? So what I would like from you right now is describe maybe some of the successes that you've had with your GLS. And if you don't mind, I'd really like to take some notes when you talk. Okay. So in the 3 years, what have you seen as growth through the GLS with your students?
The last 2 years we used the I can't remember the number of it, 2.1 or 2.0 form,
Okay.
3.0, something like that. And when the very first few times that we did it 3 years ago, the kids just looked at us. They just looked at me and didn't understand what I was asking when I would ask just by the title and looking at the picture, what do you think this is about? And that was really hard to get out of them, and also one of the questions was, what is the evidence of that? They just couldn't figure out, or I think it was, to them, it was too easy, because if it was right in the title, they kept thinking there's more, but there wasn't more. It was in the title, or it was something they got out of the picture, and they finally caught on to that they can look at a picture or look at a title and know or have an idea of what the GLS is about or what the article is about. And then I can't remember the last question on that paper, but it was just answering those questions was very difficult for them. Then by last year, I would just hand out the paper, because I used the same one. We had new kids and so on and so forth, and so I was using the same layout, form layout, and they were able to answer the questions before I asked them. So that was a big improvement.
So routine was really good. They learned how to preview a text.
Yes.
And now they know what that means. So now it's become kind of common. You pass out something and they just go with it. Okay. So since the kids are at a place of comfort now, do you agree that maybe it's time to up the rigor a little bit?
We can do that, yeah.
Okay, so what would you see as something that might be a way to do that? Just if you had some suggestions based on some of the conversations that we've had before, what could we start doing differently? Introducing something new that might kind of up the rigor for the functional skills students.
More of those open-ended questions, or more of the higher order thinking where the answer has to come from within and the knowledge that they've learned, not necessarily from the text.
Okay.
Those kinds of questions.
All right. Now, would it be a fair statement, or a fair question, I guess, that will that work for all of your students? Because we know that the GLS is for everybody.
Right.
So would that one doing, and I totally agree with that, the higher order questions and everything, would you think that there needs to be some other things in place for maybe the red group?
The lower red group,
Yeah.
for sure.
So, okay, so how might we, have you thought about how you might be able to do that? To have something that is rigorous for them, but yet is still speaking to literacy skills.
I think if I could figure it out, that as far as what might be higher order thinking for them would be to have pictures, and I could ask a question and lay out, let's say, 3 pictures, and they would choose the one that
Okay.
best fit the answer to the question.
How
Other
would,
than that, I'm not sure.
oh, okay, would, do you think that having somebody maybe working with you initially to plan and model might kind of lead you into how that might work a little bit better? Say bringing Karen in, in on it, because I think we had talked about that previously, and I
Right.
think she even didn't she volunteer
I thought she
to do
did.
it? Okay, so that's good. So let's set a goal then of making more rigorous for the upper level functional skill students, and having more access to literature-based activities for the lower group, the red group. Okay, so those are our goals, and then for the remainder of this particular session, then together, we can kind of, talk about how we're going to do that. Okay, all right. So, bringing Karen in on this, then, where do you see yourself fitting in with Karen here, as far as reaching those goals that we just established? What would you want Karen to work with you with or help you with?
She could help with those higher order thinking questions. I didn't know if she would be willing to model for me. She wouldn't have to do that, but if she would be willing to, it's always good to see how someone else does things.
Okay. Would there be a benefit to doing anything else besides just watching Karen model that might help you in structuring a different kind of GLS?
Looking in different places for the articles?
Okay, would you want to, would you want to see somebody actually go through the process of planning for all
Oh,
of
I
that?
see what you're saying.
Would you want that?
Yeah, we could, yeah.
Okay, because, Karen was going to be here, but I kind of wanted to talk with you first and see what your thought processes were. So, because you had said something about, you weren't quite sure how you could structure the red group. You have an idea in mind, but you're not quite sure how to get to that particular point. So would it be helpful if maybe you worked with Karen and I would work with you as well to kind of see how you go about scaffolding and planning, using the same text but planning for many different levels? Would that be helpful to you?
Yes.
Okay, would you be then, what might you ask Karen to show you? Because these are what I guess, Kay, what I don't want is for someone to tell you this is how it's going to be. I would like to know what questions you might ask Karen. And here's where we talk about how do you practice the conversation of, what's in here, but getting it out. And so what kind of questions would you want to know from Karen in the planning process?
might want to know how, because the last GLS I had 2 different texts, but what we're talking about having the same text.
Right.
So, and the reason that I did that was because I was having difficulty thinking about making the text that I did with the green and the blue, making that with red.
Okay.
And that's why, and then I found this other text and I thought this would be really cool for the red group, but the other 2 groups would find it childish or below their level.
Okay.
And so that's why I chose the 2 different ones. So I think
I only saw the one.
I know.
So, yeah, I didn't get to see
you
the
only
other
saw
one.
the one, and that's why I told you that, because I knew you didn't know that. But taking a text that I would choose for the blue or the green and working it to work with the red, that's something that maybe I could need some help with.
Okay, okay. Well, then that, I think that is a good way to approach Karen and say, this is what I would like to see, how you plan for something like that.
How would you do that?
Yes, and then participate with her
Mm-hmm.
in that planning. I think that's great. So knowing that annual case reviews are getting scheduled and things,
Mm-hmm.
Karen is on a tight schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So let's, when do you think you could meet with Karen? Because I would like to be there as well. What did you say, Friday was a good day?
Today was the best day.
Well, I know, but because if she models, she would obviously need to plan with you. And she would need to do the modeling next week, because the following week she's really got to start putting together the IEP work. So would it be possible for you to meet on Friday?
That's possible. We can do it.
Is that same time?
Yeah, I normally plan for the next week on Fridays, but
Well, this would be
that would
one
be
of your
one
plannings.
of the lessons.
Yes. Okay.
So we can do it Friday at 2:30.
Okay, and I will, would you then email Karen and go ahead and set that up, and if you'll CC me on that, that would be great. And then the other thing would be, during that planning session, you guys can decide what day and things like that.
Okay.
I mean, that's totally on your, how you're going to do that. During that time, at least one of those periods, I would really like to sit with you while Karen is modeling,
Okay.
so that you and I can talk about what's going on.
Okay.
And just kind of make those, make some observations and things like that. And then I think it would be important that we do a follow-up, just kind of debriefing with Karen and everything too.
That same day.
Well, if we
Just
could, we
when
could,
we can.
or just,
Soon.
soon after that, before it gets too far out of there.
Okay.
And then just talk about next steps.
Okay.
Okay, so, what commitment then are you gonna make from this meeting when you leave here today?
I'm going to email Karen, carbon copy you about meeting Friday. Hopefully she can meet Friday at 2:30.
Okay,
And then we'll choose a GLS.
okay, and
And
what
plan
is
that.
what's gonna be the purpose of that meeting with Karen then?
On Friday at 2:30?
Yeah, what do you?
Would be to choose a GLS and start planning how we're going,
Okay,
how one would present that
okay,
to the higher group and then the lower group.
okay,
Okay.
all right. How did you feel about this? This whole process that we just went through?
Oh, fine.
Fine?
Mhm.
Did you kinda like that,
Yeah.
going through there?
Yeah, it was
And
fine.
everything? So, I'm really glad that, you find you found some purpose and progress
Mhm.
in working with the functional skills in the GLS, because I think, the more that we do this, and I know reading is a passion of yours,
Mhm.
that you're gonna start branching out with all of these different ideas when you can see where it can go. with all of that. So I commend you on your stick-with-itness and stuff. No, really, I know that you really do put some thought and things into it, and I do appreciate your willingness to stretch that
Well, thank you.
and things. So, thanks a lot.
Okay.
And that's it.